Yeah.
Hi, I'm Lizabeth.
And I'm Cindy.
And I'm being blinded by this light. And this is another feeding frenzy for A Course in Weight Loss. And we're on 17.
Forgiveness. Forgive yourself and others. So tell me, which is harder, forgiving somebody else or forgiving yourself?
Oh, it's much easier for me to forgive me. Unless.
Really?
I'm putting a caveat in there.
Hmm.
Unless the anger or frustration is fresh.
Okay. With yourself?
No, with others.
Oh.
It's much easier for me to forgive others.
If it's fresh?
If it's not fresh.
Oh, I got you. If it's an old thing.
If it's an old thing, yeah, much easier for me. It doesn't necessarily have to be an old thing. But don't ask me that like 10 minutes after talking to the kid's dad. You know.
I don't ask you anything.
Exactly. I finally taught you, didn't I? How about you?
I think it comes more naturally to forgive others than it does myself. And I think I do that better, forgiving others. I don't think I realize sometimes I need to forgive myself.
True.
Once it's pointed out to me, I think I can do that fairly easily, but I think I'm often blinded
Oh, definitely.
to the things I've done where I'm not, to the things others have done.
Yeah, it's definitely harder for me to see where I need to forgive myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can think I am good with everybody involved in the situation, and the situation just keeps coming up, or whatever it is, and I just can't simply find where I need to forgive myself. I almost need somebody else to point it out for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I find it much easier to point out where others have offended me than.
Do you
where
think
I've
this
offended
is as important as some people say, or is it it's just, if I don't forgive them, it's no big deal?
Oh, I do think it's important.
Why do you think it's so important?
Because I think it's almost like one of those things that I haven't, a closed loop, an open loop, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's not closed yet, if I haven't forgiven yet, then there's always that little nagging thing in the back of my mind that reminds me, oh yeah, you're supposed to be mad at that person.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they've treated you bad. Oh yeah, you can't let them forget that, and you can't forget it either.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like that little devil sitting on your shoulder.
Right.
It won't let you move forward because you still have that hanging over your head. It's like a little black cloud that follows you everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
So I think Edwene says that, all debt is because of a lack of forgiveness. And that's really stuck with me because I thought I had forgiven everybody and everything. And yet I still have quite a bit of debt. And I think I've come to realize in the last couple of months, several months, that it's me I haven't forgiven for getting the debt in the first place, and for, I've been completely debt-free before, and to get myself in that mess again, I think I blamed myself more than I realized.
Oh, really?
I didn't even realize I needed to forgive myself. I think I have now, and now I'm digging back out of it, but I think that having that in the back of my mind and not even realizing it kept me from moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now that I've hopefully gotten it out and forgiven it, that I can move forward and dig back out of that hole,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think it's important. What about you? Do you think it's
Oh,
important?
definitely. For me, it's more rocks in my backpack.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If I'm carrying any unforgiveness whatsoever, then I'm still carrying the weight of that situation. And I
Right.
carry the full weight of the situation.
Right.
It doesn't matter if I've cried over it, if I've expressed the anger, if I have any unforgiveness in me, I'm still carrying the full weight of that.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me.
And
I think, talking about the debt, I think it also puts the weight on, too, if we have that unforgiveness. That I think most of our weight can be traced back to some unforgiveness, either for ourselves or for someone else.
oh, absolutely.
So, do you still think you have a lot of unforgiveness?
I do.
Wow.
I do. As we were reading this chapter, names just kept popping up. So that just showed me right there. I do still have a lot of unforgiveness. And it was not necessarily unforgiveness that I recognized in the moment.
So once you realize that, how are you going to get past it? How are you going to forgive? How do you forgive?
It helps me to write it down and let it go. when you and I would go to the Edwene gang weekends for a spiritual retreat, the writing it down on Firewalk night, writing down everything that you want to release, writing down the names and then burning it in the fire really helped me a lot.
Yeah.
It really helped me a lot. And I have entertained doing that even here.
I was going to say, that sounds like a good practice. And it doesn't have to be burning it, I guess, but, or a firewalk, rather. It could be just burning it, period, or just flushing it. You know, I've heard of people writing people's names on their tires and just rolling over them, you know, or on the bottom of your shoe, you know, just to let it go, just to get it out and say, okay, it's payback, you know. Or writing them a letter and never sending it, or sending it, you know.
You know, and I may have to write a letter or two, you know, depending on the depth that I need to forget. There are a few people that I feel like, okay, their name came up again, and I really feel good with that, but since it came up, then there's something there that I need to forgive. So that one I don't feel, you know, those couple of names, I don't feel like I need to do a long, involved process. But there are a few that I still hold a lot of anger towards that I really need to get it out, and that's the important part.
Yeah.
Because if I don't get it out, I'm going to continue to stuff it.
Yeah. So what do you do about these people who keep hurting you? And you keep having to forgive. How do you do
You know
that?
the answer to that.
How do you do it?
You have to keep forgiving. And stay out of the path of it. If they're not showing the change, you know this, then you have to decide, is it worth it, staying in it? And if it's not, then you got to get yourself out of it. That's what I had to do.
Yeah. I know, but what do you feel? I feel like I've gotten myself out of it so many times already, and how? Why do I let myself get back in these situations?
You and I talked earlier, I think, because I know with my parents, and I had to really do a radical severing from them, because as alcoholics, and even I'm not at a young age anymore, you understand. Even at my age, they still choose it. And even when I asked them, would they please quit so that we could have a relationship, the answer was no, that wasn't going to happen.
Right.
Okay, well, they told me exactly what they were going to do, then I just had to decide. But there is still a part of me that longs for that relationship. And I know that I can't have. And I think that's that little piece that we hold on to that gets hurt when things happen like that.
I guess.
Okay, so talk it out.
You weren't supposed to cry on camera.
Well, are you kidding? This one's going to be a bestseller.
Right.
You got hurt pretty bad today.
Yeah, but life goes on. And I'll get through it too. You know, the whole time I was thinking, of all chapters for us to be on, and this has to happen.
What are you going to do to get it out?
I'm probably going to write in my journal. And I'll probably hit it tomorrow morning.
You've done some crying.
Yeah,
Looks
I'll
like you
probably
need to do some more.
And then just let it go, you know.
Something else.
Make that decision that I'm not going to stick it back out there. You know.
For me, in order to put closure on it, I had to say my piece.
I don't feel that need.
You may not need to, but I needed to. Yeah. I had given away my power for so long, for so many years. It was important for me to stand up and say, "This is why," and no longer.
Right. And I can see in your situation where you needed to do that. In some situations, and in mine in particular this time, sometimes it's just not worth it. Yeah. They will not hear it, and it's just not worth it. Yeah. I've tried that so many times that at this point, this was like a last ditch effort, and it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think we just sometimes have to let certain people go.
We do. We do.
And say, okay, I gave it my best shot, and you know, I guess before every time I'd say, okay, well that didn't work. I'm just gonna let it go until some other way comes up,
Yeah.
or until something else. But I think eventually you have to say, no, I'm not gonna open up to that again.
Yeah, we do
It's
sometimes. In
just
order
a
to
done
move
deal.
on.
Mhm.
Yeah. When you've explored it as much as you have, and you're not going to get any further, it's time to say,
No.
okay, I'm through.
No.
But as we change on the insides, you know, we change, our relationships change too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, and I think we outgrow some people. Some people we grow apart, and things change.
Yeah.
And so it is, you know.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is I thought I'd come to this point before, and I really had. And then a situation came up where I thought, okay, I might can try this one more time, and expecting it not to turn out this way, but it did, and
That's
okay,
right.
yeah, well,
It hurts.
it does hurt, but it's life, and we'll move on.
I'm proud of you for allowing yourself to be
It
hurt.
hurt both my feelings, so now I can get over both of them. Yeah. But yeah, I'm ready to feel it and get on with it. Be done with it. Well, they're lost. Time to move on.
And I think it's a mistake to say, do you forgive them?
I
Long before you can
I'm-
move through the pain of it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you've got to move
I've
through
got
the
some
pain
forgiveness
before
work
you
to
can
do.
do the forgiveness.
I've got some forgiveness work to do, and I think, for the most part, that was my immediate thought. Was okay, I get it. I've got to get through this, move through the pain, then forgive and move on. And you know how quick I am. Well, I feel like I'm pretty much through the pain. I'm sure there's a little more to go, but forgiveness started at the very get-go. It was like, okay, I know I got to forgive them for this, because here's the thing I learned about forgiveness a long time ago, is the longer I hold on to it, that's hurting me and not them. It doesn't hurt them a bit for me to hang on to this.
Yeah.
They don't even know I'm hanging on
Yeah.
to it. The sooner I let it go, the sooner I'm off the hook. It's not letting them off the hook.
Right. Right.
You know, they'll end up paying for what they do, one way or the other. It may not be in this lifetime, it may not be anytime soon, but someday they'll regret what they did. And it doesn't help or hurt them for me to live in
To be
pain.
anguished over it.
Right.
Right. Right.
So the sooner I can move through it and move through the forgiveness, the better I am. And that's all that matters right now. It doesn't matter what they think, it doesn't matter how they feel. I can't, holding it against them is not going to hurt them at all.
Right. Right.
You know, it doesn't get them back or give revenge or anything
And
like
it
that.
doesn't make you feel any
It
better.
doesn't make
either.
me feeling better. So the sooner, in my mind now that I'm done, the sooner I can get through this and get over it, then the sooner they will be out of my life.
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm.
And the sooner I'll feel better.
Yeah.
So I'm anxious to forgive and forget and move on. And I have to say, when I forgive, man, I don't even remember what
I was
happened.
fixing to say, is it easier for you to forget when you've
Oh,
truly
yeah.
forgiven?
And that's the way I gauge whether or not I've truly forgiven or not. If I can recall everything they've done to me, then I know I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
If I think, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be mad at them, but I can't remember why, then I know I've probably forgiven them. You know,
Yeah.
that's and the emotion is another thing that's an indicator for me. If I still get tears when I talk about it, then I'm not over it yet.
Yeah.
If the tears are gone and I feel no emotion around it, then I'm pretty much
Then you're good.
done with it. Yeah. So I've still got some work to do in this one, but I'll be over it by tomorrow.
Probably. Probably.
You know, I have to grieve.
You do go through the express car wash, don't you? Yes. Just
Well,
knock off the top layer of dirt. I'm through with this.
I feel like, okay, most everything that I've experienced that is a hurt or an anger or a fear or whatever emotion it is has something to do with something I've lost. And in this case, it may be a relationship, you know. And for me, it's like, okay, I have to move through the grief of that loss. And I can let that take as long as it needs to take.
Good. I'm glad to hear you say that.
But the sooner I'm done with it, the better I'm going to feel.
Yeah.
So, okay, I lost that. Next. You know? I mean, you know?
Mm-hmm.
What good does it do for me to sit around and mope on it?
Yeah.
You know, once I've made the decision that this is done, that it's gone, that I've lost it, there's no way to get it back. Okay, let's move on. You know, that may be insensitive or cold, but that's the way I feel about it.
No, that's the way you feel about it.
It's like last summer when I lost a great deal of money, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that hurt me a whole lot worse than a lot of things, you know, because I was kicking myself, and I had trouble forgiving myself for losing that much money. It was cash, so there's no way to trace it or get it back. And I still occasionally think about that and think, man, how could I be so stupid to do that, you know? And then I have to remind myself, no, don't talk to yourself like that. But I still get angry at myself for losing something like that.
Yeah.
It was so important at the time. And at the time, I was just in a panic and devastated all at the same time. It was like, oh, how could this happen with everything else? Of course, Mom was sick, and it was just a horrible time. And I thought, how can one more thing happen? And I was so upset. And but even with that, it's like, okay, you lost something. Give yourself some time to grieve it. There's not a darn thing you can do about it to get it back. It's gone. You've done everything within your power to get it back, and if God wants you to get it back, then it will show up. And if not, you didn't need it to begin with.
Right.
You know, and that's the same way I feel about this. You know, if God wants me to have this relationship, then He'll do what He needs to do to make it happen. But I'm done. I'm done with it. I've done everything I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I'll make that decision and move on from here. Next.
Did you have, now I know you have a fresh hurt now that needs forgiveness, but were you like me, and while we were reading that chapter, did you have any names to come up?
Oh yeah, I had a few. I wouldn't call them significant forgiveness work that needed to be done, but a few little ones that popped up, and I'm like, oh yeah, I really should just get over that. And, you know, just really small ones, nothing major. And a lot of times I notice this time, usually it's people that have done something to me. A lot of times it's people that had done something to you or to my kids, or, you know, it wasn't anybody that had directly hurt me.
Right.
So you know, I feel like I do pretty good with forgiveness work.
You do.
And I don't hold a grudge, usually. I like I said, it doesn't hurt anybody but me to hold on that grudge. I'm done hurting myself if I can help it. Speaking of being done with hurting ourselves, how did you do at the gym today?
It's the first time I jumped on the scale and it was like, yes!
Yeah. So I got to thinking on the way home.
7 pounds.
And I lost 7 too. From the time we started the 10-day challenge. And that was the first day we started this series too. So since we started the series, we've both lost 7
pounds.
And I felt it today in the workout. I felt lighter.
Didn't you feel stronger and lighter?
Which surprised me because I was really dreading it today because we didn't go at all last week because we were snowed in.
Right.
And so we did exercise here at home some, but not like we should have.
No, not
and
like
so
we normally
I thought,
do.
oh, this is going to be hard and I'm going to feel like I'm starting over, but
it wasn't that way, was it?
Not at all.
This is probably the first time that we have done it, and there's been more than a couple of days space, and then we've gone back that I hadn't been like, oh my God, this is devastating. I can't do this anymore.
And it's not because it was an easy workout either. No. That was a hard workout.
Yeah, it was.
But I felt better, and I felt thinner. I felt more fit than I've ever felt in a long, long time. Good. I wondered if that was just me. Yeah.
I'm telling you, it really feels good to know I've not been on a diet. I'm just eating healthier. And we're watching water intake and portions. That's the biggest one.
That's what I think so.
Yeah. It's really good stuff.
Okay, this is all good stuff. I feel better.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah. Hey, I forgive you.
You better. It's good stuff.
It is. Strange.